Alright, hello and welcome everybody to FitzBro versus the Viper. This is a 1v1 game that the two players are playing during the streamer event thingy. So, a couple of days early access for some people to Age of Empires 4. FitzBro is a very well-known Age of Empires free player and content creator, whereas for the Viper, I don't think I have to introduce him to anyone, but just in case there is someone from other Age of Empires communities who never heard about the Viper, he is probably the most renowned and most accomplished player of Age of Empires 2 history. On the left side is the Viper as Red Russ, and to the right it's going to be FitzBro as Blue French over here. So, the map they're playing is Danube, and the way the Danube looks like is that you have a river in the middle, and you have a bunch of crossings. Now you have bridges that seem to be pre-generated, and there also are shallows. Now, I think the difference between the shallows and the bridges will be that if you make docks on the river, I think that demos have a higher chance, like demo ships, to destroy armies that are crossing on these shallows compared to crossing on bridges. Now, looking at the holy sites or sacred sites, we have two on the side of FitzBro, one very close to the water, and one on the side of Viper, not so safe here, to be honest, close to the water. Neutral markets, there is one over here on this side, and the other one is also on this side over here. I think that the Danube map, or at least from what I have seen, still needs some working on, because oftentimes it splits the resources or certain buildings like neutral markets or sacred sites somewhat unevenly, and that seems to be the case over here. So there should be one neutral market for each player's side, just in case they need to trade with it. So let's see how Viper is going to start off with the Russ over here. I don't think that he has a lot of experience playing the game and the civilization, and the Russ is definitely a difficult civilization to start with. So you see he's mining gold. This is pretty uncommon for the Russ, because the way it works for the Russ is that if you kill animals, you get a bounty. I will have a separate video on that. In fact, when you're watching this, that video should be out, or if not, then it will be out in 1 or 2 days. So every time you kill an animal, you get a certain amount of gold. You get 5 for each sheep. I'm just going to showcase this over here. 10 for deer, 25 for wolf, and 75 for boars. So for example, with your scout, you definitely want to be hunting for wolves, because 2 wolves killed over here, which are, by the way, bitey infantry when it comes to unit class, you would get 50 gold. So instead of mining gold in Dark Age, you can pretty much just focus on food and wood and take the gold from killing huntables. Same applies here when Viper is making the hunting cabin. In fact, what he needs to do is kill those animals right at the start to get all the gold, and since the food doesn't decay, he has the time to collect them later. The other side, you see FitzBro is already going up to the Feudal Age. I think FitzBro is more experienced in Age of Empires 4 than the Viper is, so I would assume that he's going to have the advantage. He's playing the French, and he's going up with the School of Cavalry, the standard landmark for French. This is basically a stable that also produces the units faster by 20%. It's a pretty nice building to start with. Obviously, the fact that you don't have to spend wood on the stable is the big thing here. On the other side, Viper is going up with the Kremlin. Now, the Kremlin is a defensive landmark. There's 2 ways to go up to the Feudal Age with the Russ. One of them is the Golden Gate, which is a landmark that acts as a better market, so you have better exchange rates. The other one is the Kremlin, which is basically a little wooden fortification that allows villagers to be garrisoned inside. But the Kremlin also has the effect of, the influence effect of outposts for the Russ, which means that the lumber camps and even the town centers that are in the influence radius actually drop off 20% more wood. So you will see that this villager, despite the fact that this villager will be carrying 10 wood, it will drop off 12. This is a very, very good showcase of that. So you see 10 wood, and well, 12 will be dropped off once we get the building completed. I forgot about that. Like, the building needs to be completed, obviously, for that influence to matter. So apologies for teasing you, we'll look back on it in a moment. Now, the other thing is that once you get a certain amount of bounty over here, you will have a harvest rate increase on your food villagers. So once you kill a certain amount of animals and get some gold from it, you will actually get a boost to your food gathering rate as well. Viper is getting villager hunting over here, which is going to give some gathering speed bonus as well for him on the hunt, as it looks like FitzBro does have quite a lot of sheep taken away from this side of the river as well. With FitzBro up to Feudal Age, he's already going for the first Is that a Royal Knight? Yes, it is. Oh boy. So the French over here can access not only the horsemen in Feudal Age, but also the Royal Knights. There's very few civilizations in the game that can make heavy cavalry, the Knights, in Feudal Age. One of them is the French, they can make the Royal Knights. The other one is the Russ, they can make the early Knights over here. The problem for Viper is that he doesn't really have wood for any building whatsoever. So Kremlin is done. And now you see that it's now under the effect of the extra lumberjacking, and you see that the villagers that will be carrying 10 wood will be dropping off 12. So this is actually a very, very good showcase of that. This lady, let's select this lady. You see, they carry 10 wood, but drop off 12, or yeah, 12 for now. Viper is getting textiles, which is the equivalent of loom, but it's a pretty expensive upgrade, 100 gold cost for him. As the first knights come in, Viper might have to abandon that gold mine, and it looks like he's getting a stable up here for himself, so he wants to go for the early knights himself. Garrisons the villagers inside the TC, and FitzBro should not be able to engage that much over here. Now for FitzBro, he is playing one town center as well, went out to take the hunt over here, also taking the berries on the right side for now. So for Viper, I understand, and I think that it is the right place to build this Kremlin at, because this is where it influences your lumber camp. But strategically, it's actually a pretty bad position, because this gold mine is actually wide open for raiding. Viper's gonna have to make some early knights over here. The problem that he's facing is that he doesn't have access to gold, so it probably would have been better to just go for spearmen, because the spearmen wouldn't cost gold for him. That being said, you see the town center has a pretty big range, plus the Kremlin is also shooting at it, so it looks like Viper might be able to secure that gold mine, but he's being set back quite heavily over here. This is where the Rust bonus of getting some gold for every killed animal actually starts helping a tiny bit. Some more knights are coming in here for FitzBro, nice and steady income of knights. That's basically all that he's doing, aside from the fact that he's adding eco behind this one. Looks like Viper's villagers here might get intercepted. He was trying to get another gold mine on the left side, but FitzBro was looking out for that. Speaking of that, let's take a look at what FitzBro sees. He actually doesn't know about that gold mine. He doesn't have that scouted, or it's a spectator bug. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, this is the moment where he's gonna find that gold mine. So up until now, he wasn't aware of that, and the moment he finds it, he's going to start raiding it. He will also try to pressure this gold mine. Viper has the early knights coming in, but remember, an early knight for Viper takes a lot of time, 35 seconds, to produce. Whereas on the other side, if we look at FitzBro, he's got the production speed bonus on this building, it's only 29 seconds. So FitzBro can pop out the Royal Knights a little faster. When you compare the Royal Knights to the standard Knights, you see they have 190 HP for the Royal Knights, 3 melee, 3 ranged damage, and 29 lance damage. Compared to Viper's one, that's pretty much the same. So the early knights and the Royal Knights are pretty much the same. It's just a matter of the fact that you can use the School of Cavalry to train them faster. Chivalry coming in for FitzBro. So since we sort of have these night skirmishes where FitzBro is taking damage, raiding Viper, and sort of charging it and then disengaging, he's getting Chivalry, which is going to give a self-healing bonus to those knights over there. And that's going to help quite a bit. It's an upgrade that takes quite a lot of time to make, but it's going to help in the long run. Speaking of that, here comes FitzBro to dive in. Viper, so far 2 early knights versus 3. FitzBro also has, look at this, a knight over here in this forest, denying gold mine for Viper. This is actually a knight that's hidden in the stealth forest, so he's nicely denying that, and looks like Viper will now add the barracks for a couple of spearmen. There is no indicator for villager count, so the best thing I can give you is income per minute. The yellow one actually stands for the better resource income between the two players. Looks like FitzBro has better food income than Viper, and so for gold income, Viper is pretty heavy on wood, however. Looks like some more knights are coming in. And Viper, he might be looking for that knight, and the timing is gonna be right. I think he was trying to bait that knight in there, and his own knights will charge in and finish that knight off. That's very nice, because I think Viper actually used the villager to take the charge attack of FitzBro's knight, whereas FitzBro took all the charges from Viper's knights. That's something that needs to be considered when you use knights as raiding units, that if you use your charge attack on villagers, then you will have a much lower melee attack after in melee. So you want to use your charge attack on the opponent's army. Viper still has some villagers gathering food over here for him in the hunting lodge. And it looks like he's also moving out over here. This is going to be a nice place for him to hunt, but he's going to need an actual hunting lodge over there. Looking at the eco upgrades, Viper has not gotten a double broad axe. Whereas for FitzBro, he actually has gotten that. So, in fact, he's going for a blacksmith. He's gonna get the attack upgrade first, I believe. That probably would make sense a little bit more for the knights. Spearmen also around now to protect those berries. And it looks like Viper is going to add a couple more spearmen over here. He will spot the knights coming in, and that's only 2 spearmen. Remember, the knights have charge attack here. So the first charge in from these knights will be devastating against those spearmen. Although it looks like not all of them actually charged in. Viper is coming in with his own knights. You see, when the knight is using that sword, it's a different attack. It's 19 for the sword and 29 for the lance charge attack. You see a little crackling particles when the knights do charge in. So Viper, once again, is a little off from gold. It would help him immensely if he knew that he gets a trickle of gold, or not even trickle of gold, but he gets some extra gold in once he does the hunting. That would be pretty nice for him to do. So, knights coming in for Viper. He actually gets a very nice raid in here. Picked off a couple of villagers. Not something that FitzBro expected. And now FitzBro is running into the spearmen of Viper. And in just a blink of an eye, we have Viper taking down a significant portion of FitzBro's army and also getting some nice raiding damage in. That being said, FitzBro still has better militia numbers. He's got 6 knights over here and 2 on the right side chasing Viper. Viper, however, could send all his spearmen. Now he's got quite a few of them. To try and clean this one up, Viper probably will lose that gold mine, but for now he's going to be satisfied with this one. Looking at the current resources, Viper is actually doing a little bit better than FitzBro does. Part of that is the Russ lumberjacking bonus, because that's gonna give a massive income boost for Viper. And you see, Viper, just by killing that single wolf, he got 25 gold. Had he known this before, he would have had no gold issues, or at least smaller than what he actually had. So you see, when the knight charges in, there is these crackling particles. That's how you see that it's actually a charge in attack. Looks like FitzBro will disengage. He might reinforce this force over here. And it looks like we're settling in for a long game here on Danube. So, it looks like Viper is now double stables. He really needs double stable production over here because he is just low on knights. And now he takes a good fight against FitzBro, just annihilating all those heavy cavalry from him. And suddenly Viper might have the army numbers advantage. Because one thing that FitzBro doesn't have is spearmen. So, the moment that the 2 cavalry charge into each other and we have some spearmen join the party, Viper is gonna have the advantage. Looks like FitzBro won't take the fight against the villagers over there. He will just retreat. And in general, FitzBro is on a big retreat. For now, he's heading for these crossings over here. Now, for the French, the obvious answer to the heavy cavalry of the Viper here would be the Arbaletier, which is a crossbow unit that can also have the Pavisa ability, which gives them some extra pierce armor for some time. But FitzBro needs something to deal with Viper right now. It could have also been a couple of archers to pick off the spearmen, but as things stand, Viper is gonna take down most of FitzBro's cavalry. FitzBro is apparently idling a lot back at home as well. So far, looking at the upgrades, he does have the attack upgrade, also the defense upgrade, melee-wise, but he needs his own spearmen above all. Looks like he is getting some knights out, and he also made an archer range, but the Arbaletier is also only available in a castle age. So what he really needs here is his own spearmen, and just match Viper's forces on the battlefield, probably. Looking at Viper's resources, those are getting pretty close to castle age here. Viper is still low on gold, but you see the extra wood income is absolutely crazy here. Looks like FitzBro is going to dive in on those spearmen. It looks like he's able to isolate them from the rest of the knights, and when the knights surround them, they will still take those guys down. Viper, on the other hand, dives in on FitzBro's gold. Looks like FitzBro has his rally point set on this depleted gold mine, as FitzBro will lose free here. Viper is actually using his map control really nicely now. You see that he is using multiple patches of deer. Speaking of that, there is a hunt over here for FitzBro that he's also using. Viper has probably scouted that now with the knights. FitzBro also floating a huge amount of gold as he has a second stable up. His military production seems to be way less consistent than the one from Viper, but this charge over here is gonna decimate Viper's cavalry, as I see FitzBro slowly adding some palisades over here to try and contain Viper's raids, probably preserve this hunt for himself. Looks like, in fact, he relocates his entire eco to the back and he's sending villagers to stone, which is an indication that he might try to go for a second town center for some added economy. Whereas for Viper, he is just adding more spearmen through the barracks. And Viper is the first one to click up to Castle Age. The landmark that he's going for is the High Trade House. So the High Trade House is probably the Castle Age landmark I like more for the Russ. It's basically like a big hunting cabin, so it would be better if you actually, you know, had it close to hunt, but obviously that's not really possible for Viper. But the thing I like about it is that it spawns deer every 60 seconds, so it helps a lot if you think about the fact that you can delay farm additions with that. You just have a bunch of deer coming in, that's free food pretty much. And keep in mind that Russ also get gold for killing those deer, so it's basically free food and gold for the rest of the game. Viper now is getting great over here, gets a beautiful sandwich over here, as he's gonna slaughter FitzBro's cavalry. FitzBro can see that this is the High Trade House and Viper is going up to Castle Age. So, as things stand, it very much seems like FitzBro knows that his opponent is up. His eco is very off. That's the main problem for FitzBro here. He just doesn't have good food income anymore. He is taking this hunt with free villagers. Viper still has a lot of hunt over here, and he managed to clean up FitzBro's army in a pretty nice and convincing fashion. So, as things stand, FitzBro needs a lot more farming eco, potentially even a market to buy himself some food, because he definitely does not want to get beaten to Castle Age that much. Because once we're in Castle Age, Viper can just add the crossbowman himself and just melt the cavalry of FitzBro. Viper is up, and we should have... let's see, what is he making? He's getting the Hardened Spearman upgrade over here for himself. Hardened should have been researched, I think, the moment he gets to Feudal Age, right? Because Standard Spearman is Dark Age, Hardened Spearman was Feudal Age, so maybe he just wanted to skip that, or he forgot about that. But he could already go for the Castle Age Spearman upgrade over here. Viper also has a market now. Pretty decent eco-balancing here for the Snake, also going for Stone. And here comes a Spearman raid, something that FitzBro seems to be unprepared for. And I don't think that he can save these villagers at all. FitzBro in general seems to be in a pretty serious trouble. And it looks like now Viper is taking over in a pretty decisive fashion. FitzBro will actually run with his villagers. Viper will be content to just burn down this mill. If FitzBro finds this gold mining operation, he could kill quite a lot from the Viper, who is going for Boyar's Fortitude, a very, very good upgrade for Russ. Plus 20 health for Russ cavalry, including horsemen and knights. That's unique to Russ. And he has already gotten the knight upgrade itself, because he would have early knights by default. Now these are standard knights, you see. Now FitzBro finally finds Viper's villagers here, and that could be a couple of casualties for the Snake. Something that FitzBro desperately needs. He needs to cling on to something as he's adding archers. The thing is that he needs crossbows here and now. He is up to... no, he's not up to Castle Age. Why do I see the arbaletier unlocked then? I think it's because Viper is in Castle Age and I was in Viper's POV. But FitzBro needs to find a way up so that he can get the arbaletier out. For now, it looks like Viper will just be idling. FitzBro's eco comes in from the other side as well with the knights, and Viper is just steamrolling his opponent right now. Pretty impressive for a player that seemed to be very much on the beginner level with Russ. And I'm not bashing Viper here, of course, this is one of his first games probably with the Civilization, but you could clearly see that he didn't know about the basic Dark Age features of Russ. So for him to sort of revamp himself and just come back into this game is pretty impressive. So I feel like even with Viper not knowing half of the features of the Civilizations here, he's actually winning a game, or at least so it seems. FitzBro's cavalry is once again gonna get cleaned up. Let's see if Viper is gonna start adding cav archers, because that's something that the Russ could definitely do. Looks like Viper has no ranges, so Viper is probably just gonna play Knight and Spearman. If FitzBro finds a way to Castle Age, he could still somehow make this. I just feel like he's in the downward spiral of having to make weaker units, and he just doesn't have the resources to click up because he has to make weaker units than Viper and keep fighting. Otherwise, Viper will just steamroll him. Maybe some stone walls would help FitzBro here. The thing is that he's got the house walls here, but in Age of Empires 4 that doesn't help you because there is space in between them where units can run through. As the archers are now coming in trying to pick off the spearmen. Viper has actually slowed down his push and now I see more and more spearmen arriving. But I feel like at this point, if you look at the income per minute, that's actually pretty close aside from the fact that FitzBro has no gold income. So Fitz needs to get his gold back, otherwise he's in trouble. He is technically on stone, so he could try making a TC here. And in general, the thing I didn't like about FitzBro's strategy was that he never went for his own spearmen. If he went for his own spears, he would have just taken relatively even fights against the Viper, secure himself a position to drop a second town center. Speaking of that, Viper already is doing that over here at this crossing, making quite a lot of farms in the process too. And you see, that 60 seconds trickle of deer might not seem like it's much, but it's actually very, very helpful. You see, Viper is pretty much gonna have 3 villagers working on hunt forever. That's very decent, as now FitzBro is gonna start stonewalling himself. So, he wants to play a longer game, and now it's looking like he's actually adding a lot of archers. He doesn't have gold anymore, but he's floating a lot of wood, as he's also making an outpost. That villager will probably get picked off before the outpost is finished. It goes up. It goes up just in time. This is a fight that Viper still probably is happy about, because he's using spearmen to deal with knights, and those archers, they are not focusing down the spearmen, so this is not a great fight for FitzBro, who's also losing his lumber camp at the back of his base. Going for full stone walls around his base, he wants to turtle this out. He doesn't have a lot of map control though, and that's something that needs to be considered. Once we get to Castle Age, those archers will become a little scarier for Viper, but not right now. And you see, FitzBro, I think his rally point is now set on the gold, so he wants to just clean up this little force over here and get back on gold. These stone walls will definitely help contain the damage, but I mean, Viper at this point is so much ahead. So he's on 2 TCs, he has probably the better eco now. Income per minute, same for foods, much better for FitzBro on wood, but FitzBro has no gold income, neither does he have any stone income, so I still think that Viper's eco here is probably better. Viper also has a knight and 2 spearmen denying this gold mine. I like that quite a bit, because that's one of the gold mines that FitzBro can work with. As you see here on Danube, it looks like the big gold mines are closer to the middle of the map, so probably what Viper is thinking about is that, okay, I'm controlling the map, so he can only take his own starting golds, and I'm just gonna deny those. So he's gonna run out of gold, and you see, FitzBro wants to go for that gold mine, but he does not know Viper has some forces over there, so he could lose a couple of villagers in the process. Now, for Fitz, he is still very low on gold, and at this pace, I feel like Viper might beat him to Imperial. That being said, Viper doesn't have a huge army, as he's adding archer ranges. I think this is Cav Archer time, because there is a lot of archers here for FitzBro. And in general, archers are easier to mass than cav archers are, as FitzBro might lose the building foundation over here. Indeed, he did not cancel it in time, I think. So, the archers early on overrun the cav archers, but in the long run, they will have the mobility. It looks like Viper is just making his own archers for the time being, getting the veteran archer upgrade as well. In the long run, what Viper wants to do is probably Knight and Streltsy. That's probably the best unit composition for us. And the moment that Viper has drawn away the army of FitzBro to the south, we will have Knights coming in from him in the middle. Woes are up though. That's something that needs to be considered. And it very much seems like FitzBro might actually stabilize here. For now, there's a second town center coming in. Income per minute is now way better for the Viper though. Looking at the current resources, FitzBro, he needs to sell a bit of a food to go up to Castle Age. It looks like he's going for a lot of barracks. Now, considering that Viper is going for archers, it seems, and Spearman got some knights, Men-at-Arms would probably be the best choice for FitzBro here, but he needs Castle Age for that. Viper's archers, they look pretty cool. It's one of the interesting things about Age of Empires 4 is that your units, like when you upgrade them, they also sort of have a regional look. So not all veteran archers are the same. You see, Rus archers are going to be pretty different from archers of other civilizations with the same level. Viper is going for Springolds. I think that the Springold is probably the better choice here against the Vols, although I've never tested that myself. Springolds deal a lot of damage with a single shot, whereas Mangonels have a blast damage. I'm unsure which is actually better against Vols. The best thing for Viper to do, by the way, would be to do siege towers with his infantry, but that's not something that he's doing right now. Instead, he's got a couple of archers moving in. FitzBro still not up to Castle Age, forever Feudal. He is. He's got a good eco, it's just the fact that he's stuck in Castle Age and stuck inside his base, which is the problem. Now here come the knights trying to bash their way through the palisades, which go down pretty easily to attacks in Castle Age and beyond. So palisades are nice defense early on, but from Castle Age on, it's really hard to keep your opponents at bay. Quite a lot of knights are out for FitzBro, and he does have the blacksmith upgrades. Viper, he seems to be lacking some blacksmith upgrades, I believe. Is he? He's got 6 armor. We can check his blacksmith. I wish there was technology indicators, but, well, this overlay is still pretty new and pretty underwhelming, so the casting overlay could be a lot better, to be honest. Anyways, looks like Viper has all the upgrades, all the archer upgrades, all the ranged defense and attack upgrades. FitzBro is trying to pick off the archers of the opponent over here, but Miss Micro, potentially. Yeah, his archers are a little exposed. Viper's knights are a lot better. These are now Castle Age knights with full upgrades, but FitzBro's got better numbers. I think Fitz should just retreat here and not force a fight. Looks like he's content to do so, and he should send a couple of knights to deal with these archers. Some more knights are coming in, and FitzBro is coming in for full stone walls. For Viper, I see more stables being added, and Viper, what he really needs is crossbowmen, I think, against the knights. Because the crossbowman would die to the archers of FitzBro, but still, crossbowman and knight is better than archer and knight. In general, the archers here for FitzBro don't do much. They pick off the spearman, but that's basically it. Viper is knocking on the doors with Springolds, but he's getting some trebs out. One of the new things in Age of Empires 4 compared to Age of Empires 3 is that you can make trebuchets in Castle Age. Now, FitzBro, he's actually winning this battle despite the fact he's not even using his archers, and maybe Viper just doesn't have the numbers. Because Viper was focusing a lot on his economy, multiple town centers. He's going up to Imperial, going for the Spasskaya Tower, which is basically a keep. A lot of civilizations have a keep-like Imperial Age landmark, but the Spasskaya Tower is basically just a brute force defensive structure. More health, and you already have the defensive emplacements, so Springold, cannon, that sort of a thing. Now, as the meat shield runs out here for FitzBro, his archers are now exposed, and I mean, he's still not going into Castle Age even. If he had Castle Age and crossbowmen, he would be winning this fight against the knights, and then he could just use his own knights against the archers, but that's not really the thing, and those trebs are slowly knocking on the walls. I feel like the key thing was that Viper was able to beat FitzBro to Castle Age pretty convincingly, and from that point on, FitzBro was just never able to recover. Seems like the macro has been much better for the snake, as we will have the trebs still knocking on the walls. At this point, those archers with the Imperial Age upgrades will be able to melt Feudal Age knights, and I just don't know what Fitz wants to do here, aside from the fact that he's going to get some archers on top of the walls, which is definitely gonna bring us some spectacular moments, and the archers on top of walls actually take way less damage than in open field battle. But you don't want to stand on top of the walls when they go down, because then you fall down. You will still be alive, but that's it. I'm not sure where the archers are going. But they could just start shooting. The problem that, you know, FitzBro is facing now is that Viper could come up on top of the walls. But you see that the archers on the walls are doing work. So these are Feudal Age archers against almost Imperial Age archers over here for the Viper. And what Viper needs indeed is men-at-arms. You see, these guys are super tanky. And they are just going to rush up the destroyed wall parts and slowly grind down those archer numbers. Viper's also shelling this part of the wall with the trebs, plus he's using his own archers to shoot, coming in with the knights as well. He needs a couple more men-at-arms to join the party, and now that he's Imperial Age, once he gets chemistry, he could get bombards out as well. But I feel like FitzBro at this point is just going to get ground down in army, because Viper's army is so much better. You see all the cavalry is melting, and when the cavalry goes down, even though the spearmen are not technically a good unit to fight archers against with, it's still something that will just melt Feudal Age units. It's now Imperial Age units versus Feudal Age units, and that's basically it. So you see, standing on walls reduces damage taken. I couldn't read it. Damage taken from range and siege attack by 66% and increases your range by +2. So it also gives you a range advantage, as Viper now has elite archers. You see how those changed. They look pretty amazing. And I think that's it for FitzBro. He's gonna lose his entire eco, and the Viper, as I said, despite the fact that he seemed to be on a pretty beginner level with Russ, he's already showing his strengths in AoE4 as well, because he's taking over FitzBro, and I think FitzBro had more time in AoE4 before Viper did, so GG's, well played by Viper. Very nice victory from him to get this one. Let's take a quick look at the statistics. So villager count, that was pretty even for a long time, by the way. It just started to take over for Viper in here, like beyond Castle Age. That's where Viper really started snowballing the game. But the military count was the problem. You see, FitzBro initially had better military numbers, but then Viper just took over, and there was this era where FitzBro got set back so heavily. FitzBro didn't have the army to fight this, and he just wasn't able to access resources to get up to Castle Age. So if you look at the gold count, FitzBro just had no gold in this area, and he was just never able to go up to the next stage here. Score overall, as I said, it was pretty close until Viper reached Castle Age. From that point on, he had the better technology, and he was just able to deny resources from FitzBro.